with all the big calls on all the big races. Welcome back. It's another edition of What a Shout, filmed somewhere in the capital on a Friday morning. Your flagship feature weekend show here at the Racing Post, brought to you by our sponsors, Bet365. Dave Orton, thrilled to be back on a chilly morning, that's for sure. We're hoping everything beats the weather, guys, but it's this time of year, isn't it? Ascot's sadly gone by the wayside. We don't get the clash of an Ergamine at Edwardstone yet. We'll bring that back in shortly. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment and share. That's what it's all about. You can do that if you're watching on YouTube, anything on Twitter, hashtag What a Shout. Housekeeping out the way, let's get down the panel. It's exciting this week. Paul Kealy, we beamed into you to ask you about your hot topic of Facile Vega. At home, we're thrilled that you join us in person.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, get no end of grief on Twitter after talking about it, but there you go.
You love the game though, don't you?
Yeah.
It's part and
it's
parcel.
funny, people seem to think you hate a horse. There's nothing to do with that at all. I've never hated a horse in my life.
But Cheltenham does that to you, doesn't it?
I hate prices attached to them.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that, really. I mean, he might turn out to be an absolute superstar. We'll just wait and see.
It's the one place though, Kills, isn't it, where you have to go against horses that ordinarily you're wowed by. You know, you have to have your team against the rest.
I just had a look actually. My Race Form Interactive goes as far back as 2009. 26 of the last 58 odds-on shots at Cheltenham got beat.
You love wheeling out this one. You always, I need you to do it because it makes my life easier. Lots to talk about the Cheltenham Festival this week. Pat Cooney, who joins us back in the studio.
Yes, looking forward to it. And the number of people came up to me and said, "Have a word with Paul Kealy, can you, Facile Vega? He's a machine." I was like, "It's just an opinion."
Is this your way of doing it, Pat? Is it?
And prices dictate opinion. So if he was 5-1, we'd all have a different.
I mean, the thing is, if there weren't people like me around, they wouldn't be getting 4 or 6, would they?
And what did you make of him paired to Pass then, who won the Moscow Flyer on Sunday?
I thought he looked really good. I thought he was in any other yard, he wouldn't be going anywhere else other than the Supreme.
Yeah.
His hurdling down the back was electric. He was big at the last, but he'd already had the race won. And he won it with a burst of speed. They went really, really slowly.
He's a tool, isn't he?
He's got speed. He's very good. How good he is compared to Facile Vega, we'd have to see. I'd love to see him take him on. I mean, the problem with all the good horses being in the same yard and so many options for them, they're probably not going to race against each other.
They're going to try and make him stay, Kills, aren't they? I mean, look, we'll find out.
Well, he does stay, but
Yeah.
I think both of them will stay. Horses tend to be a bit more versatile than we allow for anyway, but I think both of them would stay 2-5, no problem.
But this is Willie, all right, and this is chess pieces and stuff. We've seen it before. Talking to Cheltenham then, Ascot's lost, unfortunately, no Clarence Howes. Looks like it's going to be Cheltenham's game because Trials Day next Saturday on what is an outstanding weekend of racing. What a menu that will be, Kills. Hopefully an Ergamine will still take his chance.
Yeah, hopefully it will. I mean, obviously the ground may be a fair bit quicker, as it has been at Cheltenham pretty much most of the season, than it would have been at Ascot. So we'll have to wait and see.
That's the problem with the Dublin Racing Festival for an Ergamine. That's why they've not done it with him. And so they'll be hoping to get him over surely, I think. And they made the early call. You would be sponsoring there this Saturday.
Yeah, we were sponsoring the Handicap before that. But I think it plays into an Ergamine's hands because what the connections of him didn't want him to do was travel over on the Thursday night, travel back home Friday, Saturday morning, come back again Thursday. It was a lot of travelling involved. So from the one happiest person I would imagine would be Willie Mullins to say, great, at least we don't have to travel in vain. We can now ship over to Cheltenham in good time, more beneficial weather. So it all sets up for the clash that we always wanted. And hopefully we might get more than 3 runners this time.
A mini champion chase on Trials Day. What a Saturday that promises to be, but there is still action out there for you this weekend. Fingers crossed. Haydock have now moved what was a Friday inspection to Saturday. We wish them all the best with that. Could Taunton yet survive? Decent card there with the Portman Cup and of course Winter Millions at Lingfield. A weather track, please hope that thaws out. And then on Sunday, I think we've got a real chance of finding you some excellent winners. Let's have a look at exactly what we've got coming up for you on this weekend show. We're going to zoom to Dublin and have a little mini preview of the 4-5 big races coming up on the first weekend of February. Kills is going over. Brace yourselves, Dublin. And then we'll be going down to Dorset. Thrilled to say that Harry Fry joins us for a chat about not just this weekend runners, but all his stable stars and some other interesting horses we found out. Gives us an update on the season so far. 5 big race previews coming your way. We're going all over the place with that before those all-important weekend winners. Okay, across the Irish Sea, go we. Of course, not Dublin Racing Festival yet, but it is coming up. I'm tempted, you already with the lovelihood that Paul Kealy will be in situation for both days. It's an amazing festival, we know that. It sits just perfectly. What an opportunity they took a month and a bit before Cheltenham. All the best Irish horses. It's a breeding ground, isn't it, Pat Cooney, for subsequent Cheltenham winners. And we're going to look at 4 fabulous races then coming there, starting off with the Irish Arkle.
Yeah, and if you want to see the top horses line up, they're going to be running. What's going to be taking them on remains to be seen. You look at this Arkle to begin with, the front 3 in the market, Dice at Dynamo, El Fabiola, Appreciate It, all trained by Willie Mullins, and that's the common theme. Visually, I thought Dice at Dynamo was very impressive last time out, and I actually watched his Supreme Hurdle run behind Constitution Hill when he fell. At the time, I presumed he was already beaten, but he hadn't come under pressure. And all the time gurus still love him. He clocked an amazing time in a hurdle race, so he's a very fast horse. But again, we're into what's going to run. So it's the whole festival is a little bit hindered by 2 things: Willie Mullins' dominance and Henry de Bromhead having a relatively quiet time of it. I've got Honeysuckle who'll run, but all his stars seem to be on the sidelines apart from Honeysuckle. So it's very much to Willie Mullins. And as Keele said earlier on in the show, if this was trained by anyone else but, that seems to be a common theme throughout it. So we'll very much guess the runner at this stage. Anti-Post has been extremely quiet on the race, but it'll really liven up once we get the final decks and they're in the parade ring for each race.
Who's impressed you most out of Mullins' 2 mile novices?
I wouldn't be surprised if they run 2, would it? I would say who's impressed me least would be El Fabiola, but that's only in a jumping way. I didn't think his jumping was as slick as both Appreciate It and Dice Art Dynamo. He's obviously very talented. He ran John Bond very close at Aintree last year, but you want to see him again, and you want to see him get his jumping right all the way. Dice Art Dynamo was very, very impressive, and we've already seen what Willie Mullins can do with these free-going, front-running 2 milers, haven't we? We've had Undersow, we've got Energamine. He's very much, in that mould. He looks very, very good. It'd be very, very interesting taking on John Bond again and seeing what happens when it comes to the Arkle. He's got to get through this first, but I think he's probably the right fav.
We expect Mullins to win it.
The Irish Arkle.
The Irish Arkle.
Yeah, I'd have thought so. Yeah.
Banbridge is in there, isn't
Banbridge.
it? A lot of people loved him for Cheltenham in November.
Yeah.
I like Banbridge, and I think he definitely wants better ground than he got against Mighty Potter last time. I've actually backed him for the Turners. One of a couple that I've backed for the Turners.
It looks the right race to my eyes.
To my eyes, he's won the Martin Pipe already, and has he really got the speed for 2 mile? I know he put up pretty good effort when he won at Cheltenham over 2 mile. It has to be said, but I think he probably wants a little bit further.
Interesting to see what mark he gets as well, potentially, wouldn't it?
Oh, he won't be handicapping. There's no way he'll be handicapping.
It's that time of year. The previews are about to start, and we're giving you a mini one here. Let's move then to the Irish Gold Cup, won by Conflated last year when he really arrived on the scene, didn't he? He loves Leopardstown, but he's 3rd favourite with you.
Yeah, he's 8-1, and you could make a plausible case out for saying, well, that seems fair enough. This would have been his target for the race. The downside is Galopin de Champs in the race. I presume he's the real thing. We're going to find out a little bit more about him. And when you look at what else is in the race, the 2nd favourite is Statler, who is good. He might win a Grand National, but is he going to be quick enough over 3 miles to keep pace with this fella? I don't know. I can see Statler running on. Bear in mind, he's a 4 miler, isn't he? Or 3 miles 5 at Cheltenham. I would rather back Conflated at 8 than Statler at 9-2 in terms of ideal distances. The rest of them, Ken Boy, he always runs in the race. Envoy Allen, can he come back to form? Don't know. This is a race to find out a little bit more about Galopin de Champs, but 4-11, 2-5. I can watch that race and not hide behind the sofa having bet the odds on.
I think we're all agreed about that. But this will obviously affect the Gold Cup market going forward, Keels. And
of course it will. He has to win to maintain his very short price favouritism for the Gold Cup.
He's going to go even shorter then, isn't he?
And then I think he's priced up as though he's expected to absolutely slaughter them as well, not just win. And this is the interesting thing about it, because you've got to remember he's only one race outside of being a novice, and he's 4-11 to win his first Grade 1 chase over 3 miles against a horse in Conflated, who has won the last 2 Grade 1s at Leopardstown he's running.
He does look big at 8-1, doesn't he?
He does look big. He does look big at 8-1. It is, it's amazing to see what price Galopin de Champs is. He does have that wow factor. There are very few horses that have done to Fakir Duderi's what he did as easily as he did it when Fakir Duderi's has been in top form. But was he in top form? Because is it Lifetime Ambition or Perfect Ambition or whatever that was third, was only 11.5 away. And so I can't believe that Fakir Duderi's was absolutely in his spring form then.
Yeah, he's lining up for Ascot, isn't he? Again, a repeat thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He
always tends to be a bit better in the second half of the season anyway.
Yeah.
So,
but you could argue that Fakir gets beaten by Allaho like that, and then turns up on
that puts him in Allaho level, doesn't it?
180 territory.
Exactly.
Now, I believe in galloping, like a lot of people out there. He reminds me a little bit of Hurricane Fly, in that people had to believe in Hurricane Fly. He missed out the Supreme Hurricane Fly, and he was beating, what people thought was relatively ordinary opposition. He comes to Cheltenham and shows what he's all about. It's the Willie Mullins thing. He just, when these horses are star novices for him, they tend to be stars in open company as well.
Yeah, but not all of them.
Not all of them.
York Hill.
Actually, he won at Ballymore.
Actually, yeah, but that was a novice.
Okay, all right.
You said when they go out into open company.
Okay, so you're not going to. Will you be laying him here?
No, not at all. No. Not even thinking about it. I might have a few quid each way unconflated. I mean, that's how I'd play it. You probably won't get the each way places on the day. But he's still got to prove it. I mean, he's a fast horse. And
whatever happens at Leopardstown, that's 3.
Yeah, and that's
Cheltenham's 2.5. And who knows?
If you get a deluge on the day like we did on the Wednesday last year, then you never know what could happen.
You caught me looking at my phone because we're going to switch to Sunday now, and I'm thinking, which race are we doing on the Sunday? Pat Cooney, help me out. We've got 2 belters coming.
We'll start with the Dublin Chase. And again, you look at the market at the moment, Energumen's favourite, Blue Lord, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to these prices. They're on there because people ask about them, but we've priced it very defensively on the basis Energumen will probably go to Cheltenham next week for the Clarence House and probably miss the Dublin Chase. So on that basis, it's Blue Lord, Chasson Persoir. Hard to think of another name after that. Blue Lord, impressive, I thought, last time. Chasson, he's not getting any better, but he still runs to a high level of form. This is tell us more about should Blue Lord be a viable third fav for the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. As things stand, you'd probably say yes. And if that's the case, then you think, well, how much shorter and how much nearer to the big 2 really is he?
If you're an Edwardstone fan, you want to see what you've seen from Blue Lord this season, don't you?
Because I don't think you need to. See, at the start of the season, I actually thought the 2-mile form from the novices last year was weak because of those that were finishing behind. But then you see what they've done. Edwardstone has come out and absolutely slaughtered Granatine at his track, Sandown. I wouldn't worry about his fall last time either. He jumped like a stag loose. And Blue Lord has done what he's done in Ireland, and I was very impressed with him. I think he's a serious threat. I think he's a serious player.
They thought the world of him. He would have finished second, of course, to appreciate it and not fallen in the Supreme. Yep. They thought the world of him in the novice. He looks like one, and again, a little bit like what Dysart Dynamo might go and do. He's settling a bit better. When he won at Clonmel, he was ridden to get every inch of it, wasn't he? And it was a brilliant ride. And then you saw about he loves Leopardstown. He won there as a novice, of course. Yep. We think that he'll be the first choice, don't we? And he'd probably go and win this.
Well, you'd imagine so. If Energumen comes over here for Cheltenham next week, you'd imagine it's Blue Lord is going to be quite a warm favourite for it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So if you like it for the Champion Chase, what is he at the moment? Around about 9 to 2-ish.
Yeah.
Because Tom Seagull, it was a sort of default pick, that wasn't it, for price-wise. But let's give you the final race then. It is the Irish Farmer Champion Hurdle.
Yep.
And we're going to see a right old dust up here, hopefully, aren't we? Because Honeysuckle now looks like she might be still, trying to defend her Champion Hurdle, thank God.
Yeah, and we have the big 3, Stateman, Honeysuckle and Vauban. Stateman has looked the part, hasn't he, in fairness? Honeysuckle, you hope she wins, really, because they she may retire rather than, she's either going to run in the Champion Hurdle or retire. If she got well beat by Stateman and Vauban here, I'm sure they might be thinking, well, look, that will do. And of course, Henry de Bromhead, he hasn't had a stellar season by any means. How good is Vauban? This is the 4-year-old from last year taking on the old horse. Well, he's pretty good, isn't he? He was an impressive winner of the Triumph. But Stateman looks the part, doesn't he? He looks, if anything's going to topple Constitution Hill on merit, it might just be Stateman, because he does seem to be on the up.
So give us the prices then.
Well, with 4 to 5 Stateman, 2 Honeysuckle, 11 to 4 Vauban, 16 Bar. Who's going to join in the party there? So again, another small field. If those 3 run, it'll be a very, very informative race, though.
This is a head scratcher, Kills, because yeah, we're often, in recent seasons watching Honeysuckle get the job done in this race. She hasn't been the most impressive in this race from memory, but Vauban, to a lot of people's minds, will seem quite short at 11-4 there because he was beaten comprehensively on his return. Why were they so happy with Vauban after that run?
Well, he was actually surprisingly well backed because he was said to need it a lot. He had a setback early in the season, and I'm sure it wasn't connections who were punting him, but some people were. Now, he did look the real deal last year. He had a fair change of gear on him. I'd expect him to improve. Whether he'll improve enough, because State Man did win the race pretty easily.
Yeah, he did.
Whether he'll improve enough is another matter whatsoever. You cannot rule out Honeysuckle. Now, people say we knock horses and whatever when we're saying, maybe she's not as good as she was. I mean, that's just a fact. It just doesn't look like she's as good as she was. Like, you know what I mean? But she's still very good, and she still gets that £7. And it wasn't, people forget, because when she had that massive, long winning run, she actually struggled to win a few times, and she didn't run really, really high figures, but she got the job done. She still got the job done.
Yeah.
Right? And this time, she still ran to a reasonable level. She isn't a million miles off her. She wasn't a million miles off her best.
No, I mean, Classical Dream Fresh is a right tool. Going into the race.
She's definitely there. She's definitely going to be a player.
Yeah.
And
it's exciting. This.
Yeah, it is exciting. And State Man will probably know he's had a race.
You're going to be there. Who's your money going on?
I think State Man probably win.
I'm going to take a chance on Honeysuckle because this is, the fact that they're saying that they're happy to go and have another crack at the champion hurdle, despite the fact they've got two credible rivals, means she must be doing something to still right at home. And look, I'm going to give her another chance. I think at those odds as well. I'm fascinated to see what Vauban does. What a treat that will be. It's the first weekend of February. It's the Dublin Racing Festival, and that is a mini preview for you. You can get your comments in on what we've just said below. Well, a real treat for you now then, viewers, here on What a Shout. Shall we go down to Corsican in Dorset and join Harry Fry, top trainer, of course. Harry, not your first rodeo here on What a Shout. Welcome back.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Tricky old time of year this, Harry, isn't it? Well, Ascot already gone by the wayside. We wait on Taunton. We wait on Haydock. No runners at Haydock tomorrow. It's a meeting you know well, though. I'll touch on that in just a second. But how's things been? How difficult is this for a yard like yours in a minute? Because I imagine down in Dorset, it's been winter wonderland, has it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes for some picturesque scenery, but that soon wears off. We were caught out the other morning, 2 mornings ago, when second knot and the heavens just opened, and we had the best parts of an inch, 2 inches of snowfall. So it then obviously, with freezing temperatures, lingers around and actually causes more of a problem the following morning. So yesterday morning we had to go across the fields to get to the gallop. So it was great we could keep the gallop open, but just getting to and from the yard to the gallop was then a bit of a headache. And likewise this morning, but I mean, it's credit to all the team that just obviously creates that bit more work this weather, and but we're able to sort of keep ticking over and hopefully have the horses ready for when racing resumes.
Oh, I'm sure you will, Harry. Listen, you're a target trainer, as we call them out there, and one of the very best. You're running a 22% strike rate this season. Of course, we remember 2017 on this Saturday, the Rossington Main, when the wonderfully talented Neon Wolf absolutely ran away with that. Unfortunately, he was ill-fated. But no runners at Haydock tomorrow?
No, not for us tomorrow. We did have an entry with Metier in the Champion Hurdle trial, but obviously we've got potentially Lingfield this weekend, and the valuable Winter Million card, very successful last year, so that was always going to be his main target. So nothing tomorrow at Haydock. So I wish them all luck and hope they get their fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. We've got Taunton as well that's dangling. We're filming, of course, on Friday morning. We'll get to that. You mentioned Metier. Let's have a look at some of the stable stars now then, Harry, if you don't mind, that have lit up the season for us already. And I'm going to go first with the mare. Now, some people are calling this the best mare in the country. Now, Harry, she's already a Cheltenham Festival winner. She's 4-1 with Bet365 for the mares. Love Envoi. Is that, how do the stable pronounce it? Because a lot of people say Love Envoy, Love Envoi.
Yeah, we've always called her Love Envoy and haven't been corrected. So that's what we go with. She's nicknamed Polly. So, I think few cares either way. So as long as she keeps doing what she's doing, that's what matters.
Yeah, now she obviously, she loves Sandown. She was a rare British novice winner at the Cheltenham Festival. She's gone up to a mark of 147 now. We've got a Racing Post rating around about the mid 150s. She's only been beaten once when she went to Ireland, Harry, and she's certainly the toughest mare I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, she just is hard as nails and thrives on her racing. I mean, last year she just kept surprising us every time we went to the racetrack, whether it was different trip, different ground, different grade, whatever. It was she answered every call. And I mean, obviously, as you said, we did take it to Ireland at the end of the season and lost her unbeaten tag, but I don't think there was any real disgrace in that. She'd had a busy campaign and we were beaten fair and square on the day by a better mare. But I quite happily take on the winner again. On another day, you never know, might get different results. So we've obviously been delighted with what she's shown us so far this season. She looks progressive yet again this season, and obviously over 2.5 miles the last day at Sandown, she looked very impressive. So it's exciting that we get to the sort of business end of the season with the big spring targets coming up.
I'm going to be a little bit mischievous now and play devil's advocate, because it's not the only entry that she has at the Cheltenham Festival, Harry, and we're getting slight rumours that would you rather finish third in the Champion Hurdle, or second, or win if Constitution Hill is there, or would you try and have a crack at Brandy Love again in the mares? Marie's Rock could yet go to the stairs. I mean, it's all the sort of spinning plates now, isn't it? Come on, let's have this from Harry Fry. Is there any pressure from the owners to go Champion Hurdle?
Well, I think obviously there is a dream, but I think at the moment very much our focus is and always has been this season about the Mayor's Hurdle, and obviously it's about winning this game, and we want to go where the best possible chance of being successful is. So at the moment that looks like the Mayor's Hurdle. Obviously you make the price, but that definitely gives her. She was the Mayor's Novice Hurdle winner last year, and if she was to be successful in that, we never know what might happen further down the line. But at the moment, the focus is the Mayor's Novice. No exclusives today, I'm afraid.
Well, I don't know. I think your face was trying to give nothing away there, Harry, but you've always got that cheeky smile about you. Well, that was probably talking to the owners as much as it was talking to us here on What a Shout View as well. If there's a deluge come March, let's see how that one goes. But we love absolutely. Another horse that we love is Boot Hill, who was so impressive at Ascot, wasn't he? And then he went on to Conjombon. Is it the plan to stay on the Arkle route?
Yeah, well, we've got the entry. Obviously, he's only a novice once. We're hopefully going to see him next weekend at Doncaster in the Lightning Grade 2 Novices Chase, and then we'll make sort of plans from there. So, as you said, we weren't a match for John Bon in the Henry VIII, but we still got 8 weeks or just under 8 weeks till the festival. So anything can happen in that time, and we've all got to get there. So we'll keep our options open as long as possible and see what happens.
He's very exciting. He must be a favourite of yours, Harry, because he had those problems. You thought the world of him, didn't you, as a novice? And then you had to gradually get him back, and then they come good over fences, over 2 miles. It's what you want to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's required a fair bit of patience, obviously, as you said, with injuries. And then his novice first attempt at fences last year didn't go to plan at all. And it's credit to his owners, Brian and Sandy Lambert. They didn't put us under any pressure, and we said, well, it's not happening. We'll give him a bit more time. We reverted to hurdles, and we've sort of seen the reward benefited from that patient approach this season. So delighted, with how his campaign's gone so far, and hopefully there's more to come.
Oh, it'd be great if he got the one next to his name going into the festivals. We wish you luck with him. Just quickly before I move to Pat, who's got a couple of old favourites for you as well. Jim Coco, second in the Greatwood, of course, to I Like to Move It. That's the horse that won it, wasn't it? When they omitted all those hurdles. Now, turning in, you must have thought you were going to go and get that. He just kept pouring it on up front, didn't he? Massive run. He's still a novice. Is it the Betfair Hurdle?
Yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, we were sort of then. I had the option of running him in the Grade 2 novice on the same card, and then obviously decided not to. Went for broke and almost came off. And as you said, turning in, thought, yeah, here we go. But I mean, it was a very good performance from the winner that day under top weight. So hands off to him. And I was sort of nervously waiting the handicapper's verdict, having pulled miles clear of the third, but. Yeah, I think the £4 they was sort of relieved at, to put it mildly. So I think hopefully we can still be competitive, and we deliberately then sort of we'd wait and target the Betfair. So yeah, he's all just go for that.
He's got a right chance, hasn't he? Of course, having 4 runs now for this, you're not going to see some totally unexposed novices. All right, there you go, viewers. They're my pick, if you like. But you're looking elsewhere, Pat.
Yeah, Harry, I'd like to ask you about 2 strong stayers that you have, who both were beaten last time out. But Revels Hill, who I thought was a little bit unlucky at Sandown in that he got hampered and he didn't jump the railway fence as well thereafter. I think he's a well-handicapped horse, so I was keen to ask you about him. And the other one was Ask Me Early, who was very disappointing in the Welsh National. And I just wondered what happened in that at Chepstow that day, and would you consider headgear for him?
Yeah, well, I suppose we'll start with the latter. Ask Me Early. I mean, we were completely dumbfounded by that run. We've been delighted with his preparation, and always pre-race checks were okay. But as can happen, they're not machines. And we got him home and retook his bloods, and they were all wrong. He had a viral challenge, and it just explained. I mean, he just didn't turn up. Quite literally, he was tailed off going to the first, and never at the races, never in the race. So so it was nice to find a reason for that performance, because you'd be thinking, Christ, well, yeah, you would ordinarily be reaching for headgear, but I think because of that reason we were given the benefit of the doubt, and he's well again now, thankfully, and we'll hopefully see him out again in February, and maybe look at a Midlands National, something like that. I think hopefully there is a big sort of marathon distance staying chase in here somewhere along the line. We've always felt so. Things haven't quite aligned yet, but hopefully it'll happen for him.
And what about Revels Hill? What plans would you have for him?
Yeah, so I mean, another stayer that, as you said, didn't have much luck in running at Sandown the last day. So he's always done well in the spring, so we've deliberately sort of given him a bit of a quieter time, and we're sort of gearing him up for a run in February with a view to possibly. I mean, he'll have an entry in the Midlands National. But whether we get his sort of ground, he's always gone better on better ground. So that would be an option. He could end up with a Scottish national entry, or we could take Punchdown, things like that, or even Sandown at the end of the season. So there's a whole heap of options for him, including possibly the Kim Muir at the festival. So he's a second season chaser that we hope there's still more to come from him. Hopefully a big prize in him all the seasons out.
Great. It's great, Harry, because hopefully viewers, you can tell that Harry is what we call a target trainer you're mentioning there, and he gives us these things as well. So potentially Kim Muir, potentially Midlands National. Great to hear from that, and a mini stable tour there. Thanks, Harry. But we've mentioned that you've got potentially the best mare in training. If Taunton beats the Freeze on Saturday, you've got 2 females due to line up. Fortune's Melody, back in class after finishing third last time out. And look, on her best form, she's well handicapped. I remember when she came to you, Harry, she was ever so keen, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, but she's sort of settled down now, and she's consistent, if nothing else. We were delighted to get a couple of wins to her name earlier on in the campaign, but she was sort of quite harshly treated for winning at Worcester by the handicapper, and we're slowly sort of coming back down, and we're almost near her last sort of winning mark. So we're pleased to have Ben Bromley back riding this weekend. So his £7 will come in very handy, and she can hopefully be competitive, and she'll be thereabouts with going on how consistent she is normally. You'd like to think she'll be, as I said, in there at the business end where it matters.
Oh yeah, I think we'll expect that, and that £7 absolute gold dust, isn't it? I think there's a couple lurking viewers down the bottom of the weights, but with that £7, like her chances, definitely like the chances in the bumper on Mathia. We didn't see much on her debut. I covered that race, and it's fair to say I had to watch it about 100 times. I still only saw the final furlong. But the two in front of her, they're both chaps, and they went to Cheltenham on New Year's Day, and they finished in the places, shall we say, in the frame. Meatloaf, isn't it, of Paul Nicholls, and Tristan Davis second also hit the frame as well. Enlisted company. She's got to have a massive chance tomorrow, hasn't she?
We hope so. Obviously, she gets quite a valuable weight for age allowance. I think it's £13. So, I mean, we couldn't see much of her debut, but that last furlong was very encouraging for sure. And so with that run behind her, you'd like to think that she'll take a bit of beating tomorrow. So we just hope it goes ahead.
All right, fingers crossed for them then. We all certainly hope that finally we get these Lingfield Millions cards on it. Sort of came waving with a white flag 12 months ago, this meeting, and it's great prize money, isn't it? And of course, Metier bounced back. Before we get to him, in the Metier race that he won last year, you're opting to drop back Mai Tai, who didn't show much on his return. He's a massively popular horse, this, because of the Grade 1 novice form. He's bred to stay all day, isn't he? But we go back to 2 miles now.
Yeah, well, he just didn't give himself any chance at Haydock. He was, to be honest, before the race even started, he got worked up in the preliminary. He's actually pretty much bolted to post that day, and then was just too keen throughout the race and gave himself absolutely no chance of being out the trip. So that's the reason we deliberately then said, well, we'd wait for this race, and hopefully, we were almost certain to get the testing ground. We just hope it's on, drop right back on the trip. And as you said, the two got Grade 1 novice hurdle form last year, over 2.5 at Aintree. Obviously, good novice hurdle form as well, with behind the likes of Constitution Hill and John Bond last season. So we hope there's more to come, and if he gives himself a chance, then you'd like to think even off the top weight, it could be very competitive.
You've got to be thinking about one of the handicaps at Cheltenham Festival for him, surely, whether it be county now or whether it be at a conditional race. He's that calibre, isn't he?
Oh yeah, without doubt. And that's, to be honest, why Lorcan Murta is back on in the saddle on Sunday. Not only because he got top weight and his £3 obviously comes in handy, but potentially Martin Pipe might be where he goes next. So we'd like to think he's up to that sort of calibre, and obviously if he goes and wins on Sunday by a wide margin, well, he's going to rule himself out of the Martin Pipe, but that would be a nice scenario to have, and there's the other handicaps you can contest at the festival.
If it's on, then you can just see Lorcan coming to the last game. Don't win too far. Don't win too far. Of course, Metier showed his true colours, didn't he, in the November handicap, feather in your cap, that one, very much so, Harry. And then you tried him in Grade 1 company against Constitution Hill. Loads of people fancied him for the forecast that day, on Boxing Day. He just sort of fell in a hole, didn't he? But everything about Sunday, if it's on, looks up his street. And while he's moving up in trip, and he's £4 higher than when he won the 2 mile race last season, he gets loads of weight from some classy performers, and we know he loves the track.
Yeah, exactly. He thrives in the conditions that hopefully we'll be able to race in. And we've got to forgive him a disappointing run the last day where he just, for whatever reason, didn't turn out. He had an off day. His jumping actually sort of let him down, which has always been a strong point. But and in a race of that nature, you start to make mistakes. It's not, if you don't get the opportunity to warm back up to in that to Grade 1 level. So he schooled since. Sean was delighted with him last week, and you never know. So so we're going into it with sort of a less than ideal sort of prep run, but I think so we've got to bear that in mind. But hopefully he can put that behind him, and we're looking forward to trying him not back up in trip for the first time, because we've always felt that he's worth a try at that sort of distance. And certainly if you go back to what he did at Doncaster on the flat in the November handicap, he was doing all his best work at the end. So we'd like to think the extra distance might bring out more improvement.
Oh, I think it's going to be very popular on Sunday, Harry, if it's on. And you're always popular with us, Harry. Thanks so much for coming on again and giving us great insight into the stable, what's coming, of course, but also more immediately this weekend. We hope it all sort of clears up for you, Harry, and you can get these young horses out. I know you've got loads to run. All the best here from us, at the Racing Post, and what a shout for you and the family for the rest of 2023.
Great. Thanks very much for having me.
Well, that was an absolute treat, wasn't it there, Harry Fry, Dorset trainer? Hoping for a big weekend and a big finish to the season as well. His horses always get backed by you out there. And we mentioned the wonderful Neon Wolf in 2017. On this day at Haydock, tore the Rossington Mane a new one. Have we got a short price favourite in the 130 tomorrow?
We have indeed. A horse called Pembroke, trained by Dan Skelton, of course ridden by Harry Skelton. Hugely impressive last time out, as indeed were a few of these on their wins last time out. But with Pembroke, the eye-catching thing about this horse's chance, if you like your Racing Post ratings, he's rated 150, and that's in the blimey section, and that's like a good 13 higher than anything else in the race. So he's got a real good time backing up his visually impressive performance, whereas the likes of Chasing Fire, Toothless, visually impressive though they were, their times are nothing like this. Now they may be better, but it all points to another strong run from Pembroke. He's 6-4. I can see him being a very well backed 6-4 favourite and shorter, because the time gurus, they latch onto these horses and they have a big say in how horses go in the market. So Pembroke will be a very well backed horse, but maybe Chasing Fire, Doyen Star, Toothless Wolf, they're all coming here on wins last time out, but not the times clocked. Now, you might not be a times fan, but in order to justify Pembroke being as short as he is, that's why he is that short, and I think it'll be hard to beat.
Okay, Pembroke then for Pat, and Skelton's on a Saturday as well. That will probably factor in that price
yes.
as well. If you didn't have to have 4 runs for these handicaps now as a novice, I'm almost certain Pembroke would have gone to the Betfair Hurdle. I had him down after he won at Weatherby for that.
Yeah, it could be. Well, still
I just
might.
think they've run out of time. Well, maybe if he gets,
He still might, but you've got to do it quickly. How many has he had? 2?
He's had 3 runs.
He's had 3.
So it would have been perfect.
This is 4.
Yeah, he's up against a horse called Chasing Fire here, who's unbeaten.
Well, I suppose he's not even entered, is he?
No, well, exactly that.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but exactly, because exactly that, you'd have supplement and all that sort of stuff. But in a normal year, I think Pembroke would have gone there. So here he is. I was impressed with him at Weatherby. Then,
he was very impressive, no doubt about it. I mean, it's a horrible little race, though, isn't it? Because there's loads of wide margin winners in there. And we know that Pembroke, on what he's done, he's got the best form. But when horses
the Rossington Mane is a horrible little race.
Yeah, but when horses win with their heads in the chest and they're not making any effort, you don't know how much is going off, do you?
Yeah.
And what we've seen so far, Pembroke is the best. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of those near the head of the market proved nowhere near as good as they look.
You thinking Chasing Fire in that?
No, no, not necessarily. I thought he looked very good, and he's won every time he's been on the racetrack.
Ollie Murphy's trained. He's got 2 in particular rock hard quality novices, I think, at the moment, and I think this bloke will let himself down, and he'd be my pick in it.
Would he?
I like
Would
him.
he?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Poetic Music beats more than beat her.
I had a go at her against Lucia last time, and she was never really travelling.
Yeah, no, she wasn't really travelling. Maybe she wants a bit deeper ground.
It was still a step up on Racing Post ratings, obviously.
Oh, of course it was, but it was a much better race, and they really think the world of Lucia. I mean, if she hadn't missed her race, and there was half talk about running in the Supreme against Facile Vegas. So there's no. There's probably no disgrace, and she might want the ground a bit.
Would she be
as well.
the pick?
I would have a tentative couple of quid. She's got a lot to find with Pembroke, if you can believe all that. But
Sandy Thompson's got a good one in there as well. It's a horrible little race.
It is a horrible little race.
Says the leading tips at the Racing Post. Okay. 205 then. The new one race we associate, of course, with the Tristan Davis stable, and I like to move it. Didn't stay maybe last time. Looks a little bit flat, didn't he? Of course, in the Relkia was supposed to win in the International. This is the Greatwood winner, but he's not Fav because
Patonti is favourite, and 6-4 on heavy ground, and she's never been to Haydock before, unusually, given that she's 9 and she's had 20 odd races. 6-4 on heavy ground. It's a bit of a not really. Thanks very much. If I said to you, what's the highest rated horse in the race on official ratings at these weights, I personally took 6 goes to get this one right. And the top rated horse on official ratings is Jason the Militant.
oh come on.
How about that? Who would have thought that? I can't see that at all. But
Good to see a piece in the Racing Post this week, wasn't it, from Phil Kirby saying we hope he can, regain former glory.
But he's a 9-year-old, so I thought it was one of those, as someone who likes their numbers, I was a bit more, okay, I'll park that one there, really. I don't want... I like to move... I did back him at Cheltenham last time. He was moving up in trip, and they held him up. He's a free-going 2-miler, isn't he? So I was a bit disappointed when they did hold him up last time. I thought, well, you're running him over trip, presumably because he wants it, and then you held him up. But he has got a bit of a penalty. So I was coming at this race thinking, no, don't fancy that, don't fancy that, don't fancy... I'm going to give I like to move it the benefit of the doubt back to 2 miles. It's a mile 7.5. I couldn't bring myself to back Epatante at 6-4 on a heavy ground, though. All
right, 6-4 on Epatante will tempt a lot of you. Would it tempt Keels?
No. I mean, I find it very hard to back horses that have been beaten out of sight last time. I mean, obviously it's beaten out of sight by Constitution Hill, and that's it's what sort of put me off John Bon at the start of this year, because if one horse is that much better than everything else, how good can he be? But I was wrong there, because Constitution Hill's a monster, and so looks John Bon as well when it comes to chasing. Yeah. So it could be the case that she's still easily the best of the rest, sort of thing. But I am going to have my £2 on Jason the Militant.
I've had a funny feeling when we were saying about him. I've noticed your vibe change.
Well, this is almost when you say you don't know how. I mean, he's got some really, really good form. But the back form was a hurdler. He finished third in a listed race on the flat in June.
Yeah.
Ran to an RPO of 100.
Probably ran Kilbeggan or something.
Well,
and he ran against the Ascot Gold Cup winner as well.
And he next ran in the Irish Ledger.
Yep.
Right, and he's only one run over hurdle since then. Ran badly on good ground, but I think he wants it softer.
And Phil Kirby's very good at inheriting other horses.
Yeah, and he's a good trainer. And it's easy enough to see horses. I mean, Epatante has had 2 hard races against the horses just to outclass her each time, and she did look really laboured at Kempton last time, no doubt about that. And I like to move it to run a stinker last time as well. So, if you're going to, I'm not going to empty the bank or anything like that, but, I will have a couple of quid.
Too dodgy at the top of the market.
I will have a couple of quid on the rag, whose best form is up there.
Yeah, and he does
like heavy ground.
Yeah. All right, okay, let's move on, because I'm conscious while we could spend a world of time on these races. It's great fun, isn't it? This Gills and Pat go through these. We've got to go to the Peter Marsh, hoping this is on at 2:40 then, because Bristol to Mai comes back up and keeps everything, sort of down in the weights. He has been entered at Lingfield on Sunday, just in case. Yeah. They might have a look at the Lingfield race and think, I will have another go at that. Yeah. But he's a class act. He absolutely loves Haydock. Is there anything lurking, in the price market that might be taking him on? Well, with Bristol, of course, he won this in 2017, 6 years ago, off a marker 154. And for all his trials and tribulations since then, he's on 154 on Saturday. And we always say Haydock heavy, it's Bristol to my ground, don't we? But he is a 12-year-old, he has got 11-12. Market leader is Fontaine Collonges, probably unsuited by Kempton. That might have been a bit too sharp for him. His previous run was over the course and distance here, he battled on really well. Bristol, he's 3-1, don't know. Fontaine, yeah, okay. Venetia, I suppose. I was trying to go outside of those two. Copus Cross on the bottom is well handicapped, but he's often been a non-runner on heavy ground, so be cautious there. Black Lion's 14. So I'm left with Empire Steel and Dr. Kananga. Empire Steel, I just like the horse. He should have won at Wetherby a couple of years ago, but he was poor in this race a year ago. He pulled up. He ran no sort of a race, so that comes with a squiggle. So I'm left with Dr. Kananga of Ben Clark and Ben Jones. Front runner. He ran over the Grand National fences last time out. He didn't run very well. That's fine. There's your reason. Didn't take to it. He's a front runner who likes heavy ground and he stays all day. So Dr. Kananga by elimination. For Ben, of course, for Ben Clark, who won on this weekend last year the Surrey National and the Lingfield Million, which we'll be giving you with the Galloping Bear. This is head over heart stuff, isn't it, here? Because we all want, the grey to win.
No. It doesn't necessarily.
I want him to win.
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to be that. He can win. I think he probably will win. Now
he made a great sight, didn't he?
I backed Black Lion for this race, anti-post at a massive price, simply because I knew the race was going to cut up because there were entries all over the place. Yes. Now, he is actually extremely well handled. He won the last fling last season by an absolute mile. It's a veterans race, isn't it? Yeah, but he beat the two Amigos by God knows how many, and he's just won a Welsh National. So, he's a good horse round there. He's, I can't really see him winning, but I just thought at the time he was 25, so I was getting 5-1 the first 3. Now there's only 6 runners. What I mean? I wouldn't back him each way now because you only get the 2. I'd still back him each way if there was 8. but I won't. But when you look at it, you got Fontaine Collonge, who is improving and will like the ground deeper than she's had it. Yeah, but go back to that Betfair Chase. 20 odd lengths he got beat by Protectorat. Ground was officially soft. Absolute rubbish. 40% of official going descriptions in the form book are wrong.
Yeah.
At least I'd say. And the winning time for Protectorat was almost identical to Bristol de Mai's winning time when he won the Betfair Chase on good ground, and a good 25 seconds slower than when he won his other two ones. And the two things it tells you about that: one, Protectorat is not solely a mudlark. I think that going forward is very interesting for things like the Gold Cup, because he's a better horse this year. And
him in that last year.
I did, yeah. He ran a fine race. Just wasn't good enough for the two Irish horses, obviously.
Just wondering whether you might be going back
but
in.
he has improved. I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards him.
Oh,
I am leaning towards him because I
That's
think he's very good. But and the other point is the ground wasn't right for Bristol de Mai.
Yeah.
And when he runs on heavy ground, he's virtually unbeatable. The only horse to beat him was in last year's Grand National trial, and he got disqualified anyway due to a banned substance. So he's actually officially unbeaten.
That was the Galloping Bear, just mentioned, yeah.
When the ground is bottomless.
Yeah.
And when he gets into his rhythm there are very, very few horses that can live with him.
Yeah.
He's rated 154. He can definitely run to that and higher.
I want him to win like the rest of the public.
I think he will
but
win.
They'll be looking at the weight discrepancies. And while I'm a big fan of Empire still, and Sandy Thompson's had a marvellous time, but definitely the Roland Merrick was his intended target, and he didn't turn up there. This is kind of plan B. He will go well if he gets into a rhythm. He's a very talented horse on his day. I just think he might come a bit outshore. And Fontaine Collonge for me, on that previous Haydock run, Kempton wasn't for him last time, getting all that weight, I can see why he's been made favourite. I'll be cheering Bristol de Mai, but I won't be having a bet. I expect him to get beaten by Fontaine Collonge, I think, but it's too close a call, and my heart will rule the day here.
See, we're romantics, aren't we?
We are, absolutely. I'm like Toothless over there. I was going to say the Paul Nicholls trained novice.
If by the time if Racing A goes ahead and B is shown to be genuinely heavy ground, Bristol de Mai will be favourite and he'll win.
All right, there you go. We've got some naps coming up later in the show. Could that be it? For Kills, let's switch to the sand then, just in case everything's off. We've got a classy Fillies race coming up for you. Is it 2:47, Pat?
2:47, yeah. And intriguing race. If you like horses that are taking on each other on again, we've got Al Agala taking on Make In Me Do It. Now, when they won last time out, Al Agala absolutely trotted up. And okay, worse off at the weights, you get that. But if you just watch the race again, and you think, well, hang on, that's one with a stone in hand, that winner. So I think Al Agala will be all the rage. The Crisford horses, especially when they're in form, are always heavily backed. So there'll be an awful lot of the percentage of the market going towards her price. So is there value? Well, there are 8 runners, so there will be each way opportunities. I think Morgan Fairy is an interesting horse of William Haggis. She only won narrowly last time out, and she's got some okay form. And when she won narrowly, she only went up £2. So I'm sure the Haggis team are thinking, well, that's fair enough, only went up 2. She might represent a viable alternative. But if you like visually eye-catching winners last time out, then Al Agala is the girl for you.
She's going to be short. She's going to nearly win.
She's
the
gonna
weight
be-
discrepancy enough to swing it, or?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? She got up
You've
11
been
pounds.
loving your weather racing
have
this
to-
week, haven't you?
Oh God! It's no secret. I don't watch any all-weather racing through
The
the winter
things we make Kills do.
unless I have to, and then suddenly I'm thrown. Oh no, everything's off.
Yeah, of
Like,
course,
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I have to work twice as hard. It takes me twice as long because I'm starting from absolutely scratch, basically. I managed to find a 9-1 winner yesterday,
Hey.
so there you go.
There you go.
So I can do it, but yeah, it's a lot harder for me. I went back. I've watched all of them run. Al Agala, you will go a long way to find we'll wait a long time to find a horse win a good handicap that easily.
Yeah.
Because it was almost a canter.
Yeah.
And I think she deserves to be a short price favourite. Interesting thing here is there are 2 horses in the race. One's gone up 11 and the other one's gone up 12 for running in races with far lesser value than this one.
Okay.
Right, and both would have got in off their old handicap marks.
Interesting.
So it's either a big sign of confidence.
Yeah. And they are?
Or they are. Al Agala and Purple Ribbon, the top weight. Now, Purple Ribbon was an 18-1 shot when
In the
second,
Oppenheimer colours.
in the Oppenheimer colours, when second to Bellocchio in a listed race at Kempton at the end of November, and she was 18-1. Looking back at it, she shouldn't have been anywhere near 18-1 because if she'd have got anything like a clear run, at Lingfield the time before, she'd have kept up her profile of running a big career best every time she hit the racecourse. But she turned in, she was absolutely cantering, turning for home. Only furlong a bit out, isn't it there? And just never got a run. She flew through it, finished 4 for 13 at one of those racing league meetings. And if she'd have got a clear run, she'd have gone very, very close. Maybe, probably would have won actually. I'd say. So she's massively improving. She did go up 12 for that, but she travels really, really strongly. I can see the drop to 1 mile 2 suiting her really well, and she'd be my each way against the Fav. I think I think they're the two to concentrate on. The Fav's going to be difficult to beat, but I think Purple River's pretty decent.
There was me thinking you were going to whiz through this race. Someone said it's magnifying.
Present me with a puzzle and I'll start working
we all
on
try and solve it, quite right. I think that's not it. We're going to go back to the jumpers because we're hoping that Lingfield is on again on Sunday because the marvellous prize money, great meeting initiative. I hope so many of you are going. It was such a brilliant offer to get in, wasn't it? Down at the Surrey track. I know there's a problem with the trains and that, but get it if you can.
Still good value if you only got 1 day out of it.
Well, exactly. It might be the case.
Correct.
20 odd quid. Massive applause for Lingfield and the executives there. We've got the Fleur de Lis chase, of course. We've got a couple that represented in the race last year. Bristol might yet defect here. He's beating the race last year. We've got 2 for gold in there, of course. Brave Shashka didn't fire last time. Was impressive last time out. Stolen silver back in the December Gold Cup. And Sam Brown, my idea of the winner. But what prices do you think we'll be looking at with Kalashnikov in there as well, Pat Cooney?
Well, it all depends what happens with Bristol de May, doesn't it? Because I would imagine if Haydock's off, he'll be turning up for this. Just a tricky little race. You can make a plausible case out for them all. 2 for gold won this race a year ago. You would imagine they've drawn a ring round this race and said, we're coming back here to defend the title. So 2 for gold appeals to me. But you look at Sam Brown, I was thinking, should he not be in the Peter Marsh? But they're here for the prize money, and rightly so. And of course, Haydock might not be on anyway. Tricky race, isn't it? You've got the strong stayers, so they'll be making it a thorough test. Kalashnikov is always going to be interesting. He was well enough beat, I thought, in his reappearance, but 2 miles 6 was sat up well for him. I just thought a good place to start would be what happened last year in the race, and 2 for gold won it, so he'll be my preference.
That was one of the rides of the decade last year.
Yeah, he's a tough horse when he's in good form. He's got a first-time visor.
Yes, well, so's Kalashnikov. They got blinkers on. They're going pieces on Sam Brown.
Yeah. So there's all a bit of headgear there. I think it'd be like war of attrition, won't it? I think 2 for gold is probably. At
just
the weight,
tough it out.
He's got getting a little bit of weight from Sam Brown, doesn't he? I think he'll just tough it out.
I don't think we saw the best of Sam Brown in what was probably the form race. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think he can be a little bit in and out.
He can. I thought they rode him a bit more prominently than I was expecting. If you go back to Charlie Hall, he was patiently ridden, and I think that's the way to do it. And I could just see him swooping from 3 out. So it'll do for me. Yeah. We've got then the Surrey National coming out, and you thought that would be a test. This is going to be gruelling stuff.
Yeah, 3 miles 5 on heavy ground. It's a long old way. I thought Move the Chains, it could be the one here. He's very good round Lingfield on heavy, that trained down the road by Gary Moore. And he ran okay, I thought, in the Welsh National last time. He finished 5th in the end, and it was his first run of the season. And I thought, that was a good, solid start to your campaign. I would imagine Gary's had the Surrey National on his radar, because any time you got Lingfield and heavy, you've got to be thinking that. And of course, he's here for an okay prize as well. He has got 11.10. That's no bargain. There are 2 above him in the handicap as well. So maybe it might be prudent to start at the bottom of the handicap and work your way up. And you've got an interesting runner there, another local runner, Cool Valley of Chris Gordon. It's only a 7-year-old, so he's interesting. And Don Herberger of Venetia Williams, he's got a course win, just right down there on 10.11. But I thought overall profile, Move the Chains has more to recommend him. Lingfield heavy and an okay reappearance.
We spoke to Gary Moore about him and his Welsh National chances, and he could. Will he get in off that weight? Was the question. Yeah. We are. He went all right on the inside somewhere. There was that famous picture of Jamie afterwards, proper caked in mud, wasn't it? Looked like an eclair. And he's interesting, and you have to imagine with Gary doing a story for us about a month ago saying this is my Cheltenham Festival, this is the meeting where we've got Agoshin coming back out despite last year's antics in the race as well. I've got one in here, but
but you could just rewind Pat again, because he's just made the case that I would have made. there aren't many people that would use a Welsh National as a prep for a horse, but this has been the absolute plan for since last year. Absolutely certain of that. Move to change, and he ran well. I mean, he got beaten a long way in the Welsh National in the end, but it was his first time in anywhere near that sort of company. This is more his level. He's won 4 times at Lingfield, won by an aggregate of 62 lengths. He just loves it round here. It suits him really, really well. He'll be absolutely 100% for this, and good luck if you find one to beat him.
Well, Cool Valor is interesting. He spiked the maximum on the exchange, I think, when winning under a remarkable ride list. He's 1-1-1. This season he's won at the course. There is a sneaky one in here, though. Venetia Williams is set to run 2. A Kealy in there as well, who hasn't really shown his best at all this season so far. But Don Herbiger, who is a course and a distance winner, you watch him back at Exeter last time. I covered that race. That's the only reason why he's come onto my radar. I've got to admit it. I did the close-up comments in the post, and I was all getting ready to write tailed off. And then just as they do at Exeter, when you're trying to do the close-up, just as you're sort of about to press standby or whatever, he comes flashing for 4th. The further he goes, the better. Charlie Deutsch rides instead of Achille, and I think he's a sneaky one. I'm actually really keen on his chances there.
Well, he might be absolutely mile behind Move to Change there once last season.
I just think, he was, you're right. And he's a bit of a... But aren't we all? Aren't we all? We're romantics. Well, he's toothless. We're all thinkers.
Speak for yourself.
I do that very well, Pat. Listen, that was meaty. Let's hope it's all on. There's your race previews. Nap time then. Let's whittle through these. And just in case... I'll go to Lingfield, 3:22. Silky Wilkie, second last time to a massive improver from Mick Appleby's, who's gone in against since at Kempton. Samfield and keeps a ride for Carl Burke. Just do what you did last time, Sam. You will take this out. Paul Kealy.
Yeah, 1:37 at Lingfield. George Bury rapidly proving himself one of the best around. Picked up Paris Lights for 60,000 guineas last spring. Cost 650,000 guineas when as a yearling, and went to Jessica Harrington. Disappointed. He's picked him up, absolutely bolted up on first start for yard. Gone up £5 for that. That was a novice, but looked like a horse. He was a lot better than that. Oh,
you'll be with me at All Weather Championships final day yet.
I used to go there all the time, mate, honestly.
It's on this year, Lingfield. It's on. Pat Cooney, complete the Lingfield treble.
Yeah, Lingfield, 12:27. Hubert Stream, the top weight, runs in the Opulence Thoroughbreds colours. I think they're having a good season now. Stuart Williams, 3 runs, 3 wins at Lingfield. Yes, he's going up in the handicap, but just watch him. He's very, very fast. I think he's going to jump off, make all. Hubert Stream for the Stuart Williams team.
Lovely. There's your Lingers treble. All right, then, a little treat for you here and an educational piece for you, because those of you eagle-eyed that buy the Saturday paper might have noticed since the King George meeting there's been a new feature here at the Racing Post, and those of you amongst Racing Twitter will also have seen some of our biggest faces asking for feedback on the Easy View card. Now, who better to give us an education than the betting editor himself? Keith Melrose joins us from his home situation. Keith, happy Friday.
Hi, Dave, how are you?
Now, I imagine this has presented something of a challenge to you, because we were going to look at the Clarence House, Keith, weren't we? 3 runners, nice and easy, biggest jumps race of the weekend, and you've had to give us a Lingfield race, albeit a competitive Fillies heat. We've already covered it here on What a Shout. We've given our tips, but if I had the benefit of looking at the Easy View card, where would I be going?
Well, the Easy View card is the whole idea of this, right? It came about a year ago, and I set myself the little challenge of trying to put everything that you would get from a top tipster, everything that Kealy or I or David Jennings would look at into these 6 bars that you see on your screen here. All these attributes that are the things that make up what chance a horse has in a race. And the whole idea has been to make that completely human free. We put in the right sort of data, but this machine gives us the scores. So what you're getting out at the end here is a horse scored on the 6 most pertinent attributes for this race. The scores are all weighted on an average, and as you can see there, Morgan Fairy's coming out your highest scorer. But there's other horses, there's some horses that you're thinking the course might not be super good for. Purple Ribbon has only run once at Lingfield, I think, and didn't run terribly well, so the course score for that horse isn't coming out very positive. It just gives a really good picture of these horses in a very simple format. You'll notice on the Easy View card there's no weights, there's no form. It's just to allow those who might be intimidated by that the benefit of all the experience and all the expertise we have without having to basically learn to read the Rosetta Stone, which is what a traditional card is.
So scored out of 100, unbiased, that's the most important thing. Now, from what I can already glean on this, and I've got to admit, viewers, I'm totally new to this as well, and don't get me wrong, I've seen it in development and stuff, I think it's a great idea for you out there. We've got the scores out of 100, red is not great, green is where we want to be, right?
Yeah, green's where you want to be. Traffic light system, really. The best scores are a brighter green onto a slightly less bright green, and then just working down all the way through, as you can imagine if anybody ever seen a set of traffic lights, really. So a lot of horses in this race scoring high on a lot of factors because, to be honest, we've got some big trainers represented. We've got a lot of big jockeys in here. We've also got a lot of horses that have run a lot of times around Lingfield, so they're going to score pretty well on course and distance too. So it's no surprise that you're getting a lot of green in this race, more than I would expect to see in most races. But that just tells you something about the race. Even something as simple as that just gets, oh, there's a lot of green there. That's telling you something about this race. It's actually quite an advanced level. You know, these are horses that run under these conditions a lot. These are, you know, we've got a lot of the big Newmarket yards represented here, and a lot of major jockeys represented too. So even just that is telling you something about this race. That's what the beauty of Easy View is that it condenses so much information into such a tight space.
I'll tell you what, for jumps, I think we're going to have some fun with this as well, I'd imagine, Keith, going forward. So we've got 6 attributes, haven't we? We've got ability, trainer, jockey, that'll be an interesting one, distance, course, and ground. We've got some big hitters in here as well, guys, and we obviously Tom Marquand is going to score highly, as is James Dodd, and Philip Mitchell's son, Jack Mitchell. If you don't know about him, of course, because you know, just Saturday racing, trust me, Jack around the all-weather courses is absolutely mustard. So Al Agala is going to be the favourite here, but Morgan Ferry, the one for you, Keith, if you were going on the Easy View.
Yeah, if you're going purely on the Easy View score, now I wouldn't ever just go into the score and go purely on that. Some people would, but I like what these stats tell me about a race in terms of some of the things that you see. For instance, one of the really interesting jockey ones that comes out here is you can see on this card that Hayley Turner and Luke Morris have very similar scores, but Hayley Turner is actually slightly ahead. And I questioned the data guys this morning when I got these figures. I says, come on, Morris is just a better jockey, isn't he? You know, that's the sort of human input there. Well, it is, isn't it? Luke Morris is, especially these days, you know, he's still at the top of his game, got to 2,000 winners in Britain this week, top jock, and especially around Lingfield. The data guys came out and says, well, look, their overall strike rates are pretty similar. Luke Morris is in slightly better form, so he got a good score on that. But Hayley Turner has got a much better record for David Simcock, who she's riding for in this race. You know, a 12-month rolling strike rate for the yards considered, and hers for Simcock's 24%. Whereas Luke Morris has ridden once for Charlie Fellows. And also, she won on this horse last time. So the fact that the data factors in little things like that, that I, as a human who doesn't watch an awful lot of all weathers, just gone, Morris is a better jockey, isn't he? The data is considered more than that, and has asked me to factor in Hayley Turner's record for the yard, her record on the horse, into these figures, and it's something that I'd have missed.
So Easy View then, Keith, basically every Saturday for the big betting race, yeah?
Yep, every Saturday for the big betting race. As I say, we've done the Tolworth, we did the King George, we've got the winners of both those races. The top rated finished third in the Classic Chase last week, but it's not a bad result. So it's showing good success on just the top scorers, but as I say, it's about far more than that. It's about trying to see things that, as a human looking at a race, you would potentially overlook. The data doesn't miss anything. So the data is bringing all these things in and hopefully enlightening even quite advanced punters on things they might have overlooked in a race.
Well, I bet that will be the case. There you go then, guys. So last week's show had loads of comments down the bottom, Keith, but they can get their feedback in, can't they, by emailing the editor at the Racing Post with the subject Easy View?
That's right. For those that see the print version, that's the way we encourage people to go. For those that see the digital version, there will be a link in a story on the Racing Post site that takes you to a survey. And we'd love to hear feedback, good or bad, as long as it's constructive, as the researchers always tell me, to get a sense of this Easy View card. And we're particularly interested to hear from, you know, your Saturday punters, because really experienced punters want their favourite things in there, don't they? We know what punters are like, they're creatures of habit. But punters that are a little bit coming a bit fresher, maybe don't have those hard-bitting habits, want to hear what you guys think about Easy View, because, you know, it's one thing for me. We used to look at old cards, people like you and I, Dave, and it was all natural to us. But as I said earlier, it's like hieroglyphics to some people. We don't quite realise that. So especially interested to hear what you think about that. And as I say, there'll be surveys. You'll probably see them on Twitter if you follow some Racing Post names, and you'll definitely see them in the Easy View story on the Racing Post site.
Brilliant. Thanks for beaming in then, Keith. A lot of people would have opened up this section and expected you to be launching a singing career, but we know that would be an absolute disaster for your life. So thank you very much, Keith.
Cheers, Dave. All the best.
Brilliant. All right, guys. So listen, get your feedback below. Go on, blow up the machine. Remember, keep it clean. Well, there you go. Keith Melrose, the telling you about something very exciting at the Racing Post, the Easy Bets project, and some good feedback about that. This is all we've got time for then, sadly, here on this weekend's What a Shout. It has been meaty stuff. It's been great to have you guys in. We thought we'd whittle through it, but it's just a great time of year.
Always plenty to talk about when there's racing on the box.
Yeah, great to have you, Keels.
No problem.
Are you getting meaty for the previews now? Are you getting away teams?
I've had a couple booked in, but they're a while away yet. I mean, I'm not going to get too excited about Cheltenham until much nearer the time.
Yeah, you've got Dublin to come yet
Yeah,
as well.
there's plenty. I'm really looking forward to Dublin. Best value race meeting in the entire calendar if you want to go as a race guy.
May the Lord be with you, Keels. I think you might need it. Pat Cooney, great to have you down as well. No Ascot this weekend, but we carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. We were supposed to be sponsoring at Ascot, so I'm heading back home, and if Haydock's on Saturday, I'll probably poodle off to Haydock.
Oh, okay. Let's hope we see Bristol de Mine in his full glory then in the Peter Marsh. Great to have you with us, of course. Don't forget there's a Members Club offer out there for you at the moment as well. Stay ahead of the field then with the Members Club. Unlimited access to the digital newspaper. That's out at 9 o'clock, so you can beat the shops and all that sort of stuff. If you're mad keen for it, then there's the offer on screen for you. Don't forget to download the free Racing Post app as well. That just got bigger and better, didn't it, in 2023? You can do that on the Google Play Store or the App Store itself. Don't forget, gamble responsibly this weekend. It's sticky old mud out there. Don't let your punting go the same way. We wish you all the best. From myself, Dave Orton. Enjoy the sport.